Hi, my name is Nick, and welcome to Nick's Picks Watch Reviews, the YouTube channel where we look at watches that I would pick, I might pick, or I have picked, and it's been a long time. It's been almost a full year since I've actually recorded a review, and you might notice some things. I look very different. I'm older. I'm larger. I was on a reverse diet for basically a year, but I am happy to bring to you a stunning watch in the collection, which I'm actually very happy to say is in my collection. It's not just a watch that's in the collection of watches that I would pick. It's a watch that I have picked. The Vacheron Constantin Overseas Everest Edition Chronograph. And yes, that is the limited edition 1 of 50, and I got one. How in the world did that happen? I have no idea. And in fact, I didn't even realize they were still making them when I picked it up back in August of 2022. That's a year after, in theory, they had been allocated and sold out, but maybe that applied just to the dual time and maybe not to the chronograph, which maybe was shipping later. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I got one. I'm so excited, and I'm happy to share with you today. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. This beautiful Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chronograph Everest Edition is a limited edition of 150. It was inspired and co-designed by adventurer, alpinist, and photographer Corey Richards. He originally picked and designed the dual-time model as part of the Everest collection to remind himself of the duality that exists while he's on an adventure. He may be in one place high up in a mountain, but somewhere in another time zone are dishes to be done and a home that's waiting. This specific example is obviously not the dual time, but instead the Chronograph edition, which, as far as I can tell, have been put out as part of a second wave of production, with this one landing in my hands direct from the boutique in August of 2022. Now, these special editions are not presented on a bracelet, but instead are paired with two straps, a gray rubber strap and a blue Cordura strap with an orange accent stitching that coordinates perfectly with the dial and handset. Now, the straps are interchangeable without tools, connecting to the watch at one end and a beautifully finished titanium clasp at the other. Now, another thing I love about this watch is that it pairs beautifully with all of your other Vacheron Constantin 3rd Gen Overseas straps and bracelets, including the steel bracelet that came with my 4500V. So yes, that's right, if you have a 4500V, or if you have any of the 3rd Gen Overseas, you can put it on the same straps and bracelets and basically get a completely different look for the same watch. And in fact, I kind of like this a little bit better on a bracelet than I do with the other included options, although it does take away a little bit of that special sportiness factor that it has. In terms of specifications, this is specifically the reference number 5510V000T-B923. Now, while Vacheron states that the case diameter is 42.5 millimeters, I actually couldn't get that measurement in any way. I actually measured it out at about 44 mil, but to be fair, it does wear similar to 42.5 millimeters. So maybe if you, I don't know, ate some more French fries in your life and adjusted for wind chill, sure, it's 42.5, but it definitely measures out at 44. Now, if that freaks you out, the lug width isn't that scary. The lug width is a perfect 50 millimeters, and the thickness isn't that bad either, coming in at only 13.7 mil thick. And that was actually one of my concerns in getting it, because you look at that number and it's a little bit scary. It's not a small watch, but it's also not overwhelmingly heavy. It feels quite well balanced on the wrist. So don't panic if you're looking at those dimensions and saying there's no way you could wear that. Moving our attention to the pushers and crown, they're all screw down, which is fantastic. And the crown can be used to hand wind the movement, but it can't be used to hack the movement. The movement doesn't hack. So synchronizing to a reference time source can't be done to the second, which will be an annoyance for some, which actually it's an annoyance to me. Personally me. And you all will complain in the comments and be like, nay, you should not care about these things. It's a wonderful watch. You don't need to, but I kind of do. I kind of do. I know it's going to, lose or gain time over the course of many days, but it doesn't matter. It feels so nice to set it to the second. Anyway, it is powered by the incredibly well-finished and decorated Vacheron Constantin 5200 self-winding column wheel chronograph movement, which beats at 4 Hz and delivers a respectable 52-hour power reserve. The oscillating weight is giving you quite a bit of bang for your buck with 22 karat pink gold. But not just a hunk of pink gold that doesn't look nice, it features an engraving of Everest, because it is the Everest Special Edition, but not just any engraving of Everest, an engraving of a photo taken by Corey Richards, who inspired this whole thing, and who Vacheron actually paid to go and attempt a really difficult climb of Everest back in 2019. So you get some history. I know it's recent history, it's pretty darn recent history, but you get some history in that as well. So it's just a beautiful watch, beautiful movement, not too flashy either. That was one of the things I liked about this compared to my overseas with a blue dial. Is that one is gorgeous, by the way. I love that watch, but it is quite a bit flashy. The high polished finishing on the bezel, the bright blue dial, they really catch your eye, and I love it. But, you know, at some points, you don't necessarily want your watch to catch the eye. You want it to catch your own eye. You want it to make yourself fall in love, but you don't want it to take away from whatever moment you're in. And I love the Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chronograph Everest Edition, because it can do that. It can blend in to whatever environment you're in. It's not too formal either. It's not too dressy. It actually is quite rugged looking. It is that elegant sport watch with a bigger tilt towards sportiness and elegance hanging out in the back. It's kind of like a reverse of a mullet. It is perfection. Now let's talk about that dial. The gray dial has sort of a sandblasted appearance, yet despite the deep texture, the pad-printed markers don't seem to be overwhelmed by it. It really demonstrates a level of mastery not often seen. It also features a date window at the 4 o'clock. Now I personally can't function without a date complication, though I know for some, this is a deal breaker as it sacrifices the symmetry of the dial for function. The chronograph registers are inset quite deep in the dial, which creates a nice amount of depth, and they also bring some contrast in the texture to the dial with circular graining, for lack of a better way to describe it. As we turn our attention to the handset, it's not a bright silver, but instead it's dark and moody, and yet it has the perfect angle still and features a high polish. The applied indices also feature perfect angles and high polished, looking almost completely black or completely white as the light travels over them. And as that light travels over them, there's a satisfying amount of luminous material just soaking in that light, waiting for it to get dark so it can shine. It's a gorgeous, beautiful thing, and I love it. Now, that being said, I do have some complaints. And the complaints are that it's not available in larger quantities for all people. This did not need to be a special edition of 150. This could be made available in mass and it would be amazing. But I understand that there is a need to drive demand for the brand, make these halo pieces and do things like that. I wish that we could have this for all at a much, much lower price point than is going to be demanded for these on the gray market. I mean, even myself, I was looking at, how am I going to be able to get one of these, looking back right after they came out, realizing they're going to sell out instantly. And I was trying to figure out, how much am I actually willing to pay for this? Asking prices were well over $100,000 on the gray market at the time. And even today, as you look at it, it's hanging out around $80,000 to $100,000. This is not a $80,000 to $100,000 watch, folks. It is a $37,000 watch. Do not overpay. Do not give in. Hold strong. Unless you really want one, because I guess that might be one of the last avenues left. Wow, that really was a downer, wasn't it? Anyway, the loom on this thing is incredible. It looks amazing. It is what you would expect from Vacheron, and it has amazing staying power. It goes nicely with the dial. Everything about it is just chef's kiss. All right, that wraps up this week's episode with the Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chronograph Everest Edition. That is a mouthful. And it is just a beautiful, elegant sports watch that has some extra sportiness. So if you don't want to be flashy, if you want to wear something that is a little bit under the radar, unless you know what it is, then in which case it's a little bit over the top. But if you don't know what it is, which most people, let's be honest, walking down the street, they'll really have no idea. It blends in a lot better than something with high polish, something with precious metals, something that's going to catch the eye in a huge way. And yet it can catch your own eye every time you look down and see that special dial. Every time you flip it over and look at that beautiful movement, it's there for you, but it's not there to make a big scene. And I love it for that. I love it for its complication. I love it for its decoration. I love it for its ability to fly under the radar and deliver a cool, sporty look. And that's why that is probably going to be my pick for a long time as far as the top of my collection. You know, what piece really compels me the most. This one's there. It really is special, and I get it. I understand it. So thank you for joining me this week. We will see you next time on Nick's Picks Watch Reviews. Until then, take care. If you like this episode, please be sure to subscribe to both this channel and the About Time channel, give this video a like, and hit that notification bell to be notified about future episodes. Let's see here. There it is. I could do that one. A Vacheron, if you're listening, I'm willing to climb Mount Wyshproof in Australia. I'm willing to do that. I can climb it either, you know, all 486 feet of it. I could climb it in the metric system if you need me to, 148 meters. I'm there. If you just need to, you know, have a watch designed, I can make that happen. I'll design the watch. I can wear the watch on that mountain. I can take some pictures up there. I will survive, I think. You know, I don't know how big the spiders are up there. I hear that Australia has some really big spiders, but I'm, you know, it's a risk I'm willing to take. Just hit me up.